It's wonderful to be here with you today to join you for the Indo-Pacific Business Summit. We were very pleased to do this in 2018 at the Chamber. It's a shame that many of us can't be there in person today, but we did want to talk a little bit about the impact of the Indo-Pacific business strategy, and it's with respect to particularly to Southeast and South Asia. I'm really pleased to be joined by my colleague Nisha Biswal, Senior Vice President for South Asia and President of the U.S.-India Business Council. Nisha, we're in the United States, hardly new to the region from a business perspective. Why is the U.S. emphasis on the Indo-Pacific so important and new and different now?
Well, Charles, first of all, let me just echo what you just said. It's so wonderful to be part of the Indo-Pacific Business Forum. I really wish that we were in Vietnam. It has been too long since I had a chance to go there, but hopefully in the near future, we'll all be flying soon again. But as you noted, the Indo-Pacific is just an incredibly important geography, not just in terms of the strategic significance, but the growing economic significance. If you think about how the economies of the Asia-Pacific are going to comprise over 50% of global GDP by the year 2030, according to the Asian Development Bank, then that growth is really concentrated in the markets of the Indo-Pacific. And that's important not only for their own economic growth, but of course important for the businesses that are seeking to engage that. India and South Asia play a big part of that. And so I'm really pleased to be able to be here to talk a little bit about that. But I would love to hear you talk a little bit about how some of the countries of Southeast Asia have really positioned themselves for growth in this environment, and what you see as the opportunities there, Charles.
Thanks, Nisha. The United States, as I said, is not new to Southeast Asia. And from an investment standpoint, the United States is a major player. It has been for some time. Our private sector has something like $600 billion invested in the marketplace, and if by some accounts, about a fifth of exports from Southeast Asia are from U.S. firms. So we've been here for a long time, but I think we're really positioned well to do more, to really expand the cooperation, and I think the markets of Southeast Asia have done a pretty good job getting ready for that. By looking at some of the changes in supply chains and the increased desire of firms to have a more resilient supply chain base, to not be as reliant on any particular market, but to make sure they're pretty diverse in terms of their supply chain footprint. And Southeast Asia is poised to do that. I think the biggest challenge that many Southeast Asian countries have is they have not yet built the kind of capacity to absorb new investment from the United States or elsewhere that they might have otherwise done. And it's not just a question of infrastructure; it's a question of polity certainty and continuity, and the kind of policies which companies and businesses and investors can count on for the long haul. And I'm sure there are similar experiences in India.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you think about the massive market opportunity that exists in India and in Bangladesh, for that matter, there's a lot to attract supply chain investment into South Asia. But some of the areas where I think there needs to be more focus from the governments in the region is going to be on making sure that the policy and regulatory stability is there. When you're making investment that's going to take years and years to really come to maturity, then you want to make sure that there is a stability in the policy and regulatory environment. You also want to make sure that, you're addressing the key issues of labor, and skills, of land, land acquisition for building of infrastructure, and then the energy and infrastructure stability and security that you need. Now, I think we're starting to see major investment in infrastructure. You're starting to see, the energy picture change quite a bit as you see real expansion in energy access and electrification across the country. And so I think India is poised to be able to really be competitive. And certainly we've seen in Bangladesh, for example, fast growing economy. And I think pre-COVID, it was one of the top fastest or 7 fastest economies in the world. And they're starting to also make some significant movements. But as you noted, some of these policy issues that will help ease and attract investment are still going to be critically important. The other area that I think, is digital connectivity is becoming a really important aspect of the global economic landscape. And Charles, how is Southeast Asia doing on the digital connectivity piece?
Well, it's making strides, and that's very important. But the challenge for a lot of us is that we all want to stimulate our domestic digital economy and get it off the ground, and sometimes we forget that one of the main features and one of the main benefits of the digital economy is its ability to cross borders relatively seamlessly. And so, as much as a lot of us want to, and a lot of countries want to protect data, for example, and make sure that the data of our citizens is both secure and safe, but also the benefits of that data inures to our domestic economy. The temptation may be to make sure that data, or try to see that data does not cross borders. And I think that's an understandable instinct, but probably not the most economically beneficial instinct. And the ability, frankly, for data to cross borders really makes the digital economy flow, and that's really what's important. And I think the other thing that the countries need to make sure they don't do is to excessively burden the digital economy through taxation. And again, this is in the COVID era, the effort to find revenues through taxation is really tempting, and burdening the growing digital economy may be one means that countries look to expand their revenue footprint and revenue base. But I think that the challenge there is you essentially hamper the growth of your industry by excessively burdening it with tax. And I think there are plenty of places in Southeast Asia where the challenges are there for the growth of the digital economy, and I'm sure the case is the same in South Asia, Nisha.
Definitely, looking at tax continuity of the tax policy is very important. Prime Minister Modi, when he first ran for office in 2013, made a big point of saying that his government was not going to engage in tax terrorism and was not going to engage in retroactive tax liability. And by and large, he has sought to be, fairly consistent on a tax policy. But, in some of the new areas, for example, in digital commerce, we're seeing some, policies that certainly have concerned many in the digital economy about how tax is going to be assessed against global digital commerce. And so these are important issues, I think, for us to resolve and to have dialogue and conversation on, because frankly, all of the countries in the region stand to benefit enormously where you have a greater flow of goods and services and a more attractive investment climate. And that in some of these policies that have impact beyond your borders, I think it's very important, and what the Chamber has really sought to underscore is the need to have a consensus, a regional and global consensus on how these issues are going to be addressed. For example, on issues on digital tax. So I think we look forward to seeing how the Indo-Pacific Business Forum, the discussions that are underway in this important gathering, and how it can help influence that global dialogue on addressing many of these important topics as we move forward. Looking forward to being part of this in person in a future date as well.
It's been a real pleasure. I'm sorry we can't be at the forum ourselves, obviously. Wish everybody a very successful rest of the forum. And as Nisha said, we'll see you next time.